Okay, awesome. Let's go ahead and kick off the meeting and we'll get started. We're really happy today because we're joined by Zarine, who's going to be teaching us some amazing things about yoga and meditation with the essential oils. Before we begin, we just want to thank everybody for making the grand opening event amazing. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you for all of you who came to the grand opening and participated, whether you were a speaker or you were in the audience, and we got to shake hands and see you. It was a pleasure being with every single one of you. And we're excited to have more events coming up in the future. We have those events at the very end of this month and then into the beginning of December, where we're going to be visiting and doing kind of a tour of India with those 10 cities. So we go into the Northeast, we go into the South, we going to Central and the North part of India. And we want to invite everybody that's on this call to join, if it's close to you, and if you know anybody in the locations, make sure you push to get people there. The final dates and times and venues for all of those locations will be announced either tonight or tomorrow. There's just a couple of final details that we're waiting on, but we'll have all of those details for you very, very soon. So with that, just as a reminder, we have a few promos this month. The product of the month has already ended on the 15th. So just as a reminder, make sure to process your order of 125 PV if you want to get a free oil every single month. It's a great opportunity to just be rewarded for being on the loyalty rewards program. So if you look at the promotions for November, we also have a promotion where if you have somebody, if you get a sign up this month with 100 PV, and you enroll them, if they join doTERRA on their first order, they will get a free turmeric. Turmeric is normally the MRP price of that is $36.40. It's a 15 ml. And everybody loves turmeric, right? Turmeric is sourced in Nepal and Maharashtra, and it's amazing oil for inflammation. It's a great oil for many, many things. And we've had a lot of people just very, very ecstatic about that promotion. So make sure you take advantage of that. If you're joining this call and you're thinking about joining, this is a great time to do so because of that essential oil particularly. So again, sign up this month with 100 PV on your first order and get that turmeric 15 ml for free. So with that, we'll go ahead and just introduce Zarine. Zarine lives here in India with us, and she also has lived in Canada for some time and travels back and forth. And she's an amazing yoga instructor, as I'm sure you can see from the picture, but also from her little bio that we posted on the team app. And we're super thrilled to have her today because she's going to teach us how to incorporate the essential oils into our everyday lives and teach us the ways that she utilizes them with herself and her family. So with that, we'll go ahead and turn the time over to you, Zarine.
Thank you, Andrew.
Yeah.
All right. As we kind of go, feel free to pop any questions into the chat box. But today's topic is basically going to be about yoga and meditation and using essential oils and integrating that into your lifestyle. So I guess a little bit more about me is I am a mom of 4 as well. I've been living in India for about 11 or 12 years now. I stay in a small village here, as well as before kind of coming into the holistic wellness space, I was a full-time mechanical engineer. Decided that this was now my passion, turning that into purpose and coming into doTERRA, yoga, and holistic health. And that's kind of where I founded a few businesses. My main passion and goal is to support women across their journeys from all ages, regardless of where in the world they are and what stage in life they are. And that's kind of where guiding doTERRA teams as well as other teams across the world. So when we talk about yoga based off of Patanjali's yoga is consisting of 8 limbs. So most of us, when we talk about yoga, we talk about our asana practice, which is the actual movement, the postures, that we practice yoga with. However, when we talk about yoga, we should actually be talking about everything that it encompasses. So it can be your yamas, your niyamas, your asanas, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, samadhi. These are all different areas that we touch base with on a daily life, on our daily basis. So just because you may not practice the asana practice doesn't mean that you don't practice yoga. This is something that everyone does in their daily lives, and it could be to different varying degrees, but at least everyone does a little bit of pranayama. So trying to be mindful of the breath is the key in that one. One of the things that I wanted to touch on is the niyamas and the yamas. This is one of the things that drew me to doTERRA as a company, because with doTERRA, if you have been with them, I have been with them since 2014, where I was just a customer. And in 2019 is when I decided to take that on as a business. And one of the things that I noticed time and time again is that doTERRA walks the talk. So they practice their niyamas, they practice their yamas, where it's the morality, the kindness, the co-impact sourcing that they have, where they're ethically sourcing, providing fair wages for their farmers and artisans, the kindness, the truthfulness when it comes to source to you, ensuring that the oils that you're having in your hands are the purest of all of them. The generosity that they have. If you haven't taken a look at their Healing Hands Foundation, that is something definitely I recommend to look at, participate in if you can, and be able to pay that kindness forward, because that's where it's not just about the oils. It's so much more and about helping others and their lives. So when we talk about the essential oils now, we all know that there's different ways that we can use this aromatically, topically, internally. With this and with yoga, we typically practice aromatic and topical use. And I know with most of my students as well, I integrate essential oils with them because of the fact that it helps with grounding down their breathing. It helps them with so many different areas, whether it's emotional wellness, whether it's their mental health, their gut health. There's so many different areas that we're going to be touching upon over the next few slides to go over how they can be using these oils. So the first way that we're going to be talking about is all about the aromatics. We have your olfactory bulb. So if you know your olfactory bulb is basically right here, then you have your amygdala where your essential oils go in. So as soon as you breathe in an essential oil by just even holding a bottle up to your nose, adding a drop into the palm of your hand, however you're wanting to breathe it in or through a diffuser, this is where each nostril gets those little molecules of that essential oil. It then goes in through your olfactory bulb. It then communicates with the amygdala. And this is where breathing in an essential oil can have such beautiful effects on the brain, where it can influence mood and emotions. It can support healthy brain functions. This is where sesquiterpenes, such as like your frankincense, are actually able to pass the blood-brain barrier and influence positive blood flow. So DDR prime, frankincense, those are all beautiful oils for that. As well as what it can do is it can also protect against the effects of stress chemicals in the brain. So there's quite a few, depending on how deep you want to go into it, there's so many different topics and areas that this can be a whole other training session on psychoaromatherapy as to how essential oils can benefit you in the brain and the neurological side of it. So that's one of the things where people will say, okay, well, can breathing in as an essential oil provide such an impact? And yes, that's where if someone is skeptical or hesitant to internally ingest an oil, don't push them. Let them build their trust in breathing in an oil. They'll be able to see that they might be feeling pain. They might be feeling gut unrest. This is where they'll be able to see the results from just breathing in an essential oil, and they'll start building their belief in it. And then once they're ready and comfortable, then they may be ingesting them, or they may be topically applying them. So that's where there's so many different ways that you could offer a person to be using these essential oils, that there's no need to push someone into something if they're not ready. Yes, we know our essential oils are the purest, but everyone has to have their own time and space to be able to nurture themselves and build that trust as well. So again, if there are any questions at all, feel free to pop them into the chat box. So now what I want you to do is I want you to go and grab an oil. So go out of your seat. If you don't have an oil, go grab one. We're going to just do a little bit of a breathing activity. So I'll give you guys just a couple seconds to get up, grab your oils. For anyone that already has an oil beside them, put in the chat box what oil you're using or what oil you grabbed. So what I'm using is I'm grabbing Breathe. So this one is the roll-on. So if you have a roll-on or if you have the actual essential oil bottle, go ahead and open it up. Purify and lemongrass. Yes, love those ones. Peppermint. Anchor. Yes, so you must not be in India, because I'm not going to be touching upon at all the yoga collection here because it isn't available in India just yet, but Anchor is a beautiful blend. Peppermint. All right. So whatever you have now, go ahead. If you have the oil bottle, add 1 drop into the palm of your hand. If you have a roller bottle, just go ahead and roll it onto the palm of your hand. Go ahead, rub your palms together. That's your topical application there. Go ahead and close your eyes. Bring your hands towards your nose. And just begin to take a few deep breaths. As you inhale, taking a deep breath in, exhale, relaxing your shoulders, relaxing your jaw. Inhale, filling yourself up with love. Exhale, releasing anything that doesn't serve you. Just continue to be focusing on your breath, being mindful of your heartbeat, maybe feeling it, maybe listening to it, and just continuing to take a deep breath in. Exhale, relax. You can inhale and exhale through your nose, or you can inhale through your nose, exhaling through your mouth. Taking one more deep breath in through your nose, exhale slowly out through your mouth. And when you're ready, just slowly opening up your eyes. And maybe just taking whatever oil is left over on the palms of your hands, maybe rubbing it on the back of your neck, behind your ears, on your shoulders, on your abdomen. And just noticing how it makes you feel. This is one of the things that I always have my students practice in their classes if they have oils, is using an oil at the beginning of class that speaks to them. And usually what that oil tells them is something about an emotional problem that they might be having, a digestive concern that they might be having. And usually that's what speaks to them. So allowing yourself to grab an oil. You may not know everything about that specific oil, but just grabbing what calls to you and using that. And then afterwards going and reading in the essential oil guide or the emotional oil guide and seeing what exactly that oil is for. So this is where when we go into our oils and when we go into our yoga practice, one of the things that when we typically think about meditation is most people will usually choose a mudra. whether the mudra is placing their hands on their heart, placing their hands at heart center, placing them into touching different points on their fingers. And this is where in Sanskrit, mudra means seal. So this is a hand gesture that seals in the intention of your meditation or your yoga practice and allows prana, the life force, to flow freely through the body. So this is where each finger is associated with different elements, chakras, physical body parts, and emotions. So if we look at it, our thumb, this is the fire element. So when we talk about fire, this is your digestive system, your Agni. This is where when you are doing your asanas, when you are doing ujjayi breathing, you are engaging that fire within your belly, you're engaging your core. And this is where when you're associating with your thumb, that fire element is also your solar plexus chakra. So we're kind of mixing and matching all the different aspects of yoga and meditation. This is where you have your digestion, your sense of sight, your inner strength, your willpower. And this typically relates to your gut. So one of the best oils to be using for that is DigestZen. Peppermint is also a great one to do. The next one is your index finger. So right beside your thumb. This is the air element, your heart chakra. So breathing, lungs, heart. So those of you that had lavender, lavender is a great one as well for lungs, breathing. Breathe is a great one for breathing, the lungs, opening up the airways. And that's typically when you look at the plants themselves, when you look at the way the lavender grows, it's puffy. It's like your lungs when they puff out. That's kind of where you can always relate to how an oil is going to work in your body and work in your body system is by actually looking how the plant grows and what the plant is utilized for and how it looks. So for example, when you look at trees, when you look at larger trees like arbor vitae, those ones are green. They're very grounding oils. Their roots go deep. Those are ones where when you're looking at those, when you're looking at your root chakra, so your ring finger, this is where your earth elements are there. So you have your frankincense is also a good one for your root. Your arbor vitae, cedar wood, sandalwood is a great one. So that's where figuring out where you want to focus on, and that doesn't mean you need to focus on everything in one asana practice. This is where you can set aside 5 minutes in the morning. So for example, if you wake up in the morning and you want to have a day of clarity, this is where Clary Calm, a great one, Peppermint, a great one, Arise, if we're talking about the yoga blends, that's one where you can massage that onto your palms of your hands. And what you can do is you can just press your palms gently together, creating that gentle pressure. So if we're doing an asana, it could be downward facing dog, where you're going to be pressing in your palms, you're going to be pressing in all of your fingers and spreading that out nice and firm. And that's where you can figure out what works for you and follow those. And that's where every day can be different. It can be every hour can be different. And that's where for women especially, our hormonal cycles basically are 27 to 30 days. We follow the moon cycle, whereas for men, their hormonal cycle is every 24 hours. So that's where you can be using oils at different parts of your day and figuring out a protocol that works for you based off of what you're doing. Another aspect that I wanted to talk about is, like, for example, the Shunya Mudra. This is one where we're going to take that middle finger and put it into facing in towards the thumb. So if you're placing the top, so the back of your finger in towards your thumb, so your thumb is your fire. So when you place that finger back, you're basically diminishing or lowering the effects. So your fire grounds you. And that's where if you have different areas or different areas of focus, figure out which areas you want to focus on, and then you can figure out the mudras according to that. So for example, this mudra that we talked about, the Shunya Mudra, this is silencing the void. So this is basically taking your middle finger So inner peace, communication, self-expression. This is a great one to be doing before you go to bed. So if you're wanting to do a meditation or a practice before you go to bed, what you can do is you can do your lavender, you can do serenity. Those are all great oils that you can use for your throat chakra as well. So either applying it across your throat or adding it into the palm of your hand, doing the mudra, letting the backs of your hand rest on top of your knees, and just sitting in silence for 5 or 10 minutes. And meditation doesn't have to be completely voiding your mind of every thought. It could be acknowledging a thought. It could be focusing on something specific. So if you're wanting to manifest something, it could be focusing on that and just either repeating that in your mind or being able to focus on a specific thought. So meditation doesn't have to be voiding everything out. So this is where, again, each different finger is associated with, we have our different elements, the chakras, the physical body parts, and our emotions. So finding what works for you. So now when we go into each of the oils, this is where the strength and centering. If we're wanting to do strengthening, centering, yes, there are asana practices, but this is again where you can use sandalwood, cedarwood, frankincense, myrrh. Those are all beautiful essential oils that can provide that strength and centering. And that's where you can apply them on different areas. So for example, if you feel you need more centering and your mind or your heart is wavering, apply it either onto your heart, apply it onto your temples. So some of the different areas that you can apply the oils on is wrist points typically. You can apply them on your temples, the back of your neck, and also the bottom of your feet. And for example, if you're looking at reflexology and you're wanting it to be impacting on the mind, on the bottom of your foot, your big toe is basically going to be your brain. So that's where, if you're focusing on mind and mood, this is where you can apply the essential oils according to that. Then we have clear breathing and breath awareness. So the pranayama that we just practiced, this is where there are so many different oils that can be used. Breathe, the respiratory blend, is a great one. Peppermint, eucalyptus, rosemary, which has just launched in India, cardamom, frankincense. So cardamom is not out yet. However, cardamom is an ingredient in the Breathe blend. Cardamom is actually one of my favorite oils for clear breathing, as well for younger children as well. It's a great essential oil to be using. The eucalyptus, if you have not gotten doTERRA's eucalyptus, it is absolutely, I think, one of my favorite oils. It is like a slightly sweet smelling aroma. So it's beautiful to just diffuse on its own in a diffuser. Or if you're not feeling so good, this is a great one as well to kind of add into like a steam inhalation or something and just breathe it in that way. So one of the things is for people that might be doing neti pots, this is where do not use essential oils in your neti pot. It is not recommended. It will sting, it will burn. Do not use essential oils in sensitive areas. So that's where with yoga, neti pots, your cleansing of your nasal passages is common. What you can do is you can always do, if you, as the weather kind of changes and things get a little bit drier, you can do doTERRA's fractionated coconut oil. So in your salt, you can add a little bit of the coconut oil and then put in the hot water into that and then use that. And that will kind of serve as a lubricant into your nasal passages. So that's like a great alternative. Then we have our grounding blends. So cedarwood, vetiver, balance, and patchouli. So all of those, I don't think vetiver is available yet. Patchouli is also not available, but cedarwood and balance are great essential oils. Cedarwood is also very cost effective. And it's also great for your skin. So if you're looking to add an essential oil into your skin or for your scalp, it's a great one to be adding in. And that's where when we think about grounding, it doesn't have to be us sitting in like Sukhasana, where you're sitting in a comfortable seated pose. It could be child's pose, as you can see in the picture, where your palms are facing down. So that palm effect, again, is that grounding effect, where you're grounding down through your hands, you're grounding down through your feet, you're grounding down through different areas of your body. So that's where it doesn't just have to be your root chakra, your base of your spine, your sit bones hitting the ground. It can be other parts of your body that you can also touch the ground and have that same grounding effect. And this is a great one where if you wake up in the morning and you find that you're kind of out of balance, or you need to be a little bit more centered throughout the day, balance is a great oil to be putting as like a body spray. So if you're looking to either add an oil into your moisturizer or into your daily routine, balance is definitely one of the best ones to put out there. So balance has frankincense in it. It has wood. I think it has quite a few other grounding oils in it. So this is a great one as well to be using. Then we have uplifting. So this is where uplifting blends can be so good for anyone at any time. So for example, if you need a pick-me-up throughout the day, or if your mood has kind of just been down, this is great where you can do a little bit more of an invigorating asana practice. And you can use wild orange, lemon, peppermint, grapefruit. Any of the citrus oils are great for that. Peppermint is also great. This is where if you are a minty person, grab peppermint. It'll definitely wake you up. If you are more into citruses, definitely, that one is definitely one of my favorites is lemon, using it all the time. So in your water, so cleansing. This is a great one for washing fruits and veggies. Wild orange, you can add it into your kombucha, you can add it into your smoothies, you can add it into like a piece of chocolate. And that's kind of where you can do so much more with it, where it doesn't have to just be aromatic or topical applications. You can also do internal applications with that to get that uplifting sense as well too. So that's where there's so much more integrated into your yoga practice, because one of the parts of yoga is also being mindful of your eating habits, being mindful of your nutritional intake, making sure you're having nutrient dense food. So this is where it's also great in that aspect. Then we have the calming side. So this is where, as we're kind of winding down, getting ready for the night, these are ones that you can be diffusing. And as we've seen, each of these different areas, I'm listing out individual oils, or there may be blends. What you can always do is you can always make a little custom roller bottle with the oils that you like. So for example, if you like lavender and cedarwood together, add like 5 drops lavender, add 5 drops cedarwood, and then top the rest up with some fractionated coconut oil in a 5 ml bottle, and use that as a roll-on. Put it on your feet or add it into a warm bath or a foot soak. This is a great way to be creating that calming and that centering focus. And that's where you'll see cedarwood a lot. You'll see frankincense a lot too, where frankincense may be a higher cost oil. This is where what you can always do is you can always offer a more cost-effective alternative for them to start with. And that's where cedarwood is a great cost-effective option, and it's as beautiful, as effective. So find what works for them. Another one is vetiver. Not everyone likes the aroma of vetiver, but one of the things that you should be mindful of is, as we talked about the aromatics, a little more science behind that is your aromatic profile within your nose and your body actually changes every 21 to 28 days, where if it's an essential oil that you don't like, and you smell that on a regular basis, by the end of that cycle, you will actually be more attracted to that essential oil. You'll be more pulled toward that essential oil, and it may not be as unattractive to you anymore. So that's where I would recommend trying that out. Let me know how that goes. But that's something else that if it's an oil that you don't always like, maybe use a little bit less of it. If you know that the benefits of it are still going to be so fruitful for you, use a little less. Do a little bit more lavender, or do a little bit more bergamot, and use it accordingly that way. And then as your nose gets accustomed to it, you can amp it up a little. Then we have purifying and cleansing. So we had earlier, there was purify. Someone had used, I think, purify and lemongrass that they had for the breathing exercise that we did. So this is where this is a great one for purifying, cleansing, adding it into your water. So if you're looking to do a detox, lemongrass is a great one. Wild orange, lemon, grapefruit, again, also great for detoxing. Arbor vitae, this is, again, this is a tree that grows natively in Canada. And this is where it's very grounding as well as it's very cleansing because it is a coniferous. So it's like a Christmas tree kind of type. So that's where when you look at some of these oils, when you look at, or when you think about going through a forest of pine, like a pine forest or red forest, this is where when you go, imagine yourself going into that and breathing the air, automatically just stepping into that and stepping into that aroma is so purifying and cleansing. And this is where if you have salons or spas, you can create your own little diffuser blends based off of these combinations to create a sense of serenity, to create that purifying sense, and customize it based off of what packages you might be offering. This is a great one to be accessing it to a larger audience. Then we have our soothing blends. So these are great for, again, if you're having joint concerns, or if you're having any muscle concerns, or after a good workout. These are great ones to be using and using on a regular basis, either as a bath, or you can add it into your massage oil or into your daily moisturizer and add it in that way. So lavender, your wintergreen. So wintergreen, typically, I know like Udi is very popular for your doTERRA, which is your wintergreen. So this is where you are familiar with a lot of the oils, and that's where a lot of people will, in India, will resonate with that aroma. So that's where if you are trying to create a soothing atmosphere for a home, wintergreen is a great oil because a lot of Indians can relate to that. It automatically triggers emotions, memories, and that's where that also correlates to how you can use these oils for different areas in your life. Geranium. Geranium is not yet available in India. One of my absolute favorite oils for skin, for overall everything. It is great, especially for sleep as well too. So if you aren't really a fan of lavender, geranium is a great alternative where the linalool content, so lavender has a higher constituency of linalool. That's what makes it the calming, sedating, soothing. Geranium actually has the same amount or a little bit higher content of linalool in that same essential oil than lavender. And that's where, for example, vetiver, bergamot also has it. There are a couple other oils that have it that are different aromatic profiles. So depending on your personal preference of what you like to smell, this is where you can pick and choose different essential oils that will still give you the same effect, but they'll smell different. So this is where take advantage, and every time you can take advantage of either grabbing turmeric or grabbing the product of the month, or finding out like the freebie oils, or splitting an oil among friends. If you have a team of wellness advocates, say, okay, I want to splurge on frankincense. So split that bottle of frankincense among 2 or 3 members. And that way each of you are able to experience that and also get the benefit of it. So that's all. There are also other alternatives to take advantage of finding new oils and experiencing them into your life. So now, as we've kind of talked about yoga and asana practices a little bit, this is where we want to talk about keeping our mats clean, keeping our space clean. And this is just a quick recipe. You can screenshot it from here, where you can either do a couple different options. You have 15 drops wild orange, 10 drops peppermint. If you're wanting it more as like a pick-me-up, you can do lavender and tea tree as more of like a cleansing, soothing, calming, or you can even do that purify blend. The purify blend, if you haven't used it yet, or if you haven't picked it up yet, it's great. It is so versatile. So you can use it as a deodorant. If you haven't used it, or if you need a deodorant on the go, add a drop into your armpits and it works like magic. And just one drop, because purified can also be overpowering. You can add it into your counter sprays. You can add a drop into your gym shoes. You can add a drop or two into your laundry. So this is where each of these essential oils, I highly recommend attending as many education sessions as you can, because one essential oil that you may have bought it for one purpose, but you can then find 100 different purposes of using it in your life. So kind of just coming up to a close. So when we talked about breathing, when we talked about being mindful, we want to now just kind of tune into our bodies and understand that how emotions can trigger physical sensations. And that's one of the key things to being mindful and having that yoga practice and that meditation practice, because that makes you a little bit more aware and creates that little bit more mindfulness. So for example, if you find you have a clenched jaw, and that's one of the things that I always remind my students in yoga practice, whether they're holding a pose, relax your jaw, because you don't even always realize how tight you might be holding your jaw. And it may not be anger that you might be holding, but it may be holding tension. It might be holding something in that jaw. So automatically, by being mindful and saying, okay, relax your jaw, relax your tongue, relax your lips, automatically that forms that kind of release. The next one, with your heart racing, you're stressed out. You might be on the verge of a panic attack. This is where grabbing lavender, grabbing adaptive, keeping those oils with you, just focusing and doing a quick 10 deep breaths, automatically you'll notice that your heart rate will slow down, your breath will be in more control, and your mind will be a lot more calm. So this is where combining your essential oils, combining yoga, combining meditation, combining all of this together and finding what works for you to make it sustainable and achievable. That's what you want to make sure, is that you want to make sure that it's sustainable for you to be doing on a daily basis. So if an hour-long yoga practice or an asana practice isn't sustainable, do 5 minutes from your bed, do 10 minutes beside your bed, whatever works for you. If you're feeling tired, or if you're feeling sad, if you're feeling worried, usually your gut has to do with worry. So for example, if you are having digestive unrest, just even diffusing an essential oil at your dinner table or while you're cooking automatically will help kind of calm and soothe the mind, putting your gut and your digestive system in a state of rest, which then allows you to be able to digest your food a lot better. So that's where, if you are looking at using peppermint, maybe drinking a cup of peppermint tea before you have your meal, or just having a drop in warm water before you have your meal, kind of sets your gut and your intestines up to be safe, to create that safe space, to create that cooling environment for your food to kind of digest and work on itself. Next one, sweaty palms. It could be that you're scared. There could be so many different ways. And that's where one of the things that I always recommend is when you start feeling aches or pains or physical ailments in your body, that is usually your body's last chance. That's your body's way of telling you, you didn't listen to the emotional pain that I was giving you. You didn't address it. You kind of pushed it off to the side. So now I'm going to show you physically. So that's where shoulder pains, hip pains, especially like women, we usually have tight hips, tight hamstrings. That's because as women, we usually hold our tension in our hips, in our thighs, in our hamstrings. And that's typically when you are looking at asana practices, look at poses that help you release and also find oils that match accordingly. So that's where you can figure that out and find what works for you, because depending on what phase in your life you are, if you are a child that is just entering their menarche or their periods, They can be using Clary Calm. They can be using so many different oils. They can be doing more gentle yoga practices. If you are a man and you are having a higher testosterone, you can either find ways to kind of balance the testosterone using some of the oils and yoga poses, or you can find ways to be able to maximize it to its benefit. So that's kind of where finding that balance is a great way to do that. And that's us leading into the product guide. So we touched on so many different oils from there. One of the things, depending on where your customers are going to be based or where your downline is, this is where work with the oils that they have. So for example, we know that we don't have all of the oils yet in India. Find which oils work for that person and are easily available to them, because that's one of the key things is you want to make sure that availability is there for them. So that way, if there is, for example, the emotional wellness kit, and we also have the yoga collection, those are amazing collections that have not entered into the India market yet. However, there are so many different oils that you can either make your custom blends with, or you can pick and choose one or two oils and focus on those and utilize those to the maximum ability. So if any of you guys have questions, we've pretty much gone over everything. There's so many more topics that we can kind of spur off of this, whether it's essential oils with Ayurveda. We've already had a session on that, diving deeper with the chakras. There's so many different ways to do that. So if you have any questions, I guess, Andrew, do we want to let them unmute themselves and they can ask away, or put it in the chat?
Yeah, either works great. So you can put your questions in the chat or unmute yourself one by one.
Yeah, so Simona asked how to purchase the oils. So if someone has introduced you or shared their link to this class, if you haven't signed up or you're not a doTERRA member, contact the person that invited you to this class, or contact the person that you might have talked to before. If you don't have someone, I'm more than happy to help you, but reach out to the person that brought you here, and they should be able to help you sign up. If you are already a wellness advocate and you don't know how to sign people up, I would say contact your upline, again, the person that enrolled you, and they will be able to guide you as to how you can go to your doTERRA replicated website. So usually it's mydoterra.com/ your first and last name is by default. So if that's something that you're wanting to share out, that's what how you can look at it as well. So we have, I don't think we've done a chakra class yet. So there isn't, I don't think we haven't done a chakra class yet. I haven't seen one. I don't think I've seen one in the trainings, but a recording of this class, as Andrew mentioned, it will be on the team app. So if you, again, haven't downloaded that amazing resource, it is the Stack Team app. Contact your upline. They will be able to help you get a link to the application, enter in your doTERRA ID, and then you'll be granted access to the India site. So if you have oil, so the question is it a good idea to pick an oil randomly and use it in meditation, or do we always have to choose mindfully the oil? And I usually say, okay, pull out your collection of oils, grab one that you think is best for you. And what I have always found is when I talk to that person, usually the oil that they've chosen, after speaking to them and after kind of figuring out what their custom asana practice would be, that is the oil that matches what they needed that day. So that's where perfectly fine to be randomly picking an oil and then going and looking at it to see maybe how it can affect you or how it can help you. And that's where children are usually sometimes more adept and more in tune to that, where they will pick up on different aromas, different senses that they like. So they'll be drawn to those first, whereas sometimes as adults, we've been more ingrained to say, okay, I want all the education before I pick an oil. I say, pick your oil, open your heart up, grab that oil, and then afterwards, find if that oil was the one that was right for you. The education on Ayurveda and oils. So there was a session that had been done. So if you go into the team app again and you look at the previous trainings, education trainings, you will be able to see the Ayurvedic class in there. Yes. So, okay. So you're a wellness advocate from Italy. So again, so as I mentioned, Simona, so what you'll do is contact your upline, as well as you'll have your doTERRA replicated website. So the same way that you would typically enroll others from Italy, you'll enroll them in India. It's that instead of choosing Europe and then Italy, what they'll do is choosing the market is they'll choose India. That's the only difference that they'll do. Okay, so gut problems and in stress. So this is where for gut concerns, I typically recommend digestion as well as adaptive. So adaptive is one that is basically helps with adjusting to change, supporting stressful situations. This is where your gut and your mind are so interconnected, where your gut is basically your second brain. So even focusing on just the mind first by using adaptive typically will then be able to help the gut kind of be a little bit more at rest. And then the digestion is another one that can be used as well to help soothe the gut. Okay, for oil of concentration. So for students, there are quite a few different ones for focus. So doTERRA has a focus blend, or they also have like a thinker blend. So those are two different blends that they have in there. I don't think any of those are available in the Indian market. However, one of the ones that I like for focus is rosemary. We're doing a blend of rosemary and lavender together is a great combination because aromatically it's soothing, whereas rosemary may be a little bit sharp, where rosemary is a great one for helping with concentration, with focus, whereas lavender helps kind of calm the mind to set the stage for them to be able to sit and do their homework or whatever it is that you want them to be able to focus on. And that you can make as like a little roller bottle for them to put again on their wrist points, temples, back of the neck, or you can just have it diffusing in their space at that time. So adaptive, there are ingestible capsules as well. The veggie capsules, I think, are available in the India market as well. So just again, make sure you read the bottle. So there is the ingestible section under doTERRA's product guide, and then there is the ones that are for aromatic and topical use. So just being mindful of making sure you always read your bottle to make sure it has the correct labeling on it for you to be using internally. Yes, so that's correct. So with adaptive, the gel caps have a slightly different ingredient profile in them to be able to ingest them. So the gel caps, again, are not available yet in India, but if you have an upline or if you have someone that you can contact that's coming over from any of the markets that does, feel free to order those and use those because those are amazing. Okay, I don't think we have any more questions. Diva, I think you have your hand raised. Did you want to ask your question? Okay, I think, Andrew, I think we're ready to kind of close out the call if there's anything else that you want to mention.
So well, we appreciate everybody who hopped on the call today and want to wish you a great night and evening for those of you who are in India and a great rest of your day for those of you who are in other parts of the world. So thank you so much for joining.
Yes, thank you.
And we'll post the recording soon after it downloads to the cloud.
Project